think too much about the vault. You shouldn't think about the implications surrounding the fact that I have hordes of celebrity baby teeth locked in a safe. You shouldn't think about the fact that a few of Kevin Costner's adult teeth are actually mixed up in here too. And you definitely shouldn't think about how these are Michelle Yeoh's tonsils. And we'll leave it there. And we got it out of the way. Now we can just move on. Thank you, by the way, to Wally, who put that on cue cards for me so I didn't have to look at the book this time. Wally, of course, gets extra when he gets paid extra when he has a line in the show. So, Wally, do you want to say something?
Yes.
This isn't the show. You're not getting extra. A few little corrections, though, about celebrity baby teeth. I was told humans only have 20 baby teeth. Dakota Johnson's last week, when I emptied out the bag, had upwards of 30. I just say when both your parents are famous, you have more baby teeth. Ye Old Jugs. We had a pornographic magazine called Ye Old Jugs with photos of jugs on it. And we've had this conversation before. I was told, you know, the Y, the Old English Y is actually, the letter is called the thorn, and it makes a TH sound. So it actually is pronounced the old jugs, but I'm not pronouncing it the old jugs and losing my ye laugh. Dudes. Also, we showed a photo of jugs on Ye Old Jugs magazine, and someone wrote in, you showed a stoneware jug with an Albany slip top. Albany slip was a stoneware glazed surface treatment developed by potters around Albany, New York in 1820, which remained in use until about 1920. So, you know, it's obviously porn to somebody. We had a monologue joke before a hiatus about a cocaine sand castle. Someone wrote, cocaine is soluble. Unlike sand, those kids would be unable to make a coke castle. That's what my friend said. My friend is my coke dealer. Dr. Jill Biden has a PhD in education. She therefore cannot write anyone a prescription, but after the debate, she did write Joe a detention. Bays, why do I ever do your jokes? Sal, I got in trouble because I wrote in a Churchill quote in A Closer Look on Monday, and then Sal changed the quote that I'd looked up. And now I'm getting burned by, Churchill fanatics who are telling me I got the quote wrong. And Sal's always doing this. He's always changing Churchill quotes. You remember that time? There's this famous Churchill quote where Lady Astor said to Winston Churchill, "Sir, you are drunk." And Churchill said, "I may be drunk, miss, but in the morning I will be sober and you will still be ugly." That's the famous Churchill quote. And then I put it in A Closer Look. You remember Shoemaker. And then I'm reading it on cards, and Sal has me say, Lady Astor said, "Sir, you're drunk." And Winston Churchill says, "Shut up, you cow!" I'm like, Sal, can't just change quotes. Godzilla doesn't eat people in movies. He's never eaten people in movies. And the reason is Toho, I hope I'm saying that right, is the studio, the company that owns the rights to Godzilla. And they will not allow the monster to be depicted eating someone. If they do that, they will pull the licensing. Also, Japan does not have gendered pronouns, so Godzilla was it. It was only America that decided to make Godzilla a he, but some in the corrections comments said that they believe Godzilla is a she because Godzilla has laid eggs. Also, Mothra and Godzilla were originally foes, but are now allies, and more than one person wrote me to say they are in a lesbian relationship. They were foes in the 1964 film Godzilla versus Mothra, and then their relationship changed in 1995's Godzilla and Mothra buy a Subaru Outback. Did I do that right, Jenny? They had one date and then they moved in together. Did I do that right, Jenny? They bought matching carabiners. Did I do that right, Jenny? I'm going to ask her at the next joke Seth can't tell. By the way, tune in for that one, because there has been a twist. There has been a twist in jokes Seth can't tell. We have what's known in the corporate world as a redundancy. Woo! Woo! Very rarely do you have that good a twist. 50 plus episodes in. We had a monologue punchline that was, it set a Guinness World Record for least weekend plans. It should be fewest weekend plans. In my defense, this is the first I've heard that those words have different meanings. We have a lot of clips during our show, obviously in the body of A Closer Look. We show a lot of video clips. And someone asked it with an interesting question. They said, what is your audience seeing during the clips? How are they seeing it? How are you showing it to them? And it's a great question. Kenny stands in the middle of the floor and holds up a Samsung Galaxy. But he doesn't turn his alerts off, so there's just like a lot of texts. We had a joke that implied Mario, Luigi, and Princess Peach were in a polyamorous relationship. I was told that's gross because Mario and Luigi are siblings and therefore they would never have sex. But then why do they call them Super Smash Brothers? We never, Jeff Wright, in a couple of things, talked about, Pretty in Pink. And how somebody looked like Blaine's dad in Pretty in Pink, that we'd be mad that Wally Ringwald's character was from the other side of the tracks. Somebody wrote, we never meet Blaine's dad in Pretty in Pink, so we have no idea how he feels about Molly Ringwald. Yeah, he signed off on the name Blaine, so I feel like we do know enough about him. It's not, it's pronounced mummified, not mummified. Knew it as soon as I said it, for what it's worth. We talked about throwing a wax figure into the East River and it getting waterlogged. Wax is insoluble. It would not get waterlogged. It's insoluble, not soluble, so wax is basically the opposite of cocaine. And that, kids, is why you should never snort wax. On After Midnight, this was told to me. By the way, Taylor Tomlinson doing a fantastic job hosting that show. But I guess she said, she made a joke that said, unlike her, all other current late night hosts were the same because they were white men in suits. Suits? There's an ongoing discourse about my Australian accent. Someone wrote something very hurtful. They wrote, all this time I thought my grandpa had a stroke. Turns out he's just Australian. Someone wrote, I just watched all the corrections from the beginning and have to say it was worth it to report this. Don't. He says the jokes make more sense if you watch them from the beginning, but don't. You're missing nothing. All I can say to you is, you burnt. Let's see. Oh, I told a joke, we had a joke last week, and then I told all of you, if you can guess the writer who you think wrote this joke, you get a signed headshot. And someone wrote, ugh, I can't remember the names of your writers. Hey, you and me both, friend. Buddy? If you see him in the hallway. Matt Goldich wrote the joke, and we asked him to sign headshots we're going to give to the first 10 people. It was a joke that, it was in Surprise Inspection. It replaced porn with corn. That was the gist of the punchline. And here's the headline. And on the first one, there's 10 of these. On the first one, the joke is, now you can use this instead of looking at corn. Very good. And the joke on the second one is, now you can use it. Oh, just the same one. Okay. Same joke 10 times. What else? Oh, we had a tiny Kangol on the Samuel L. Jackson tooth. And I realize that's probably a more popular hat in maybe the late 90s, early 2000s. And someone said, what's a Kangol? Well, Kangol's a hat popularized, I would say, by Samuel L. Jackson, but Billy Bob Thornton also wore a Kangol. And, you know, I'm pushing my luck, but Andy, I'm gonna call Andy Samberg again. He's in London, so this is probably not gonna work. He went to Wimbledon yesterday. Got rained out. Hey, yeah. Can you do Billy Bob Thornton saying Kangol 3 times in a row?
Kangol. Kangol.
Okay. That was the 7th page of Celebrity Baby Teeth. I was joking earlier. It's 9 pages. And I know how much you hate it. I hate it too. I really do. So there's only 2 more. We have a show next week, and then we have 3 weeks off for the Olympics. And you know, what can I say? That means everybody can just circle on their calendar. August 15th is when Celebrity Baby Teeth is going to end. And I just think, in general, it's just good to know the date. All right. See me next week.